Isn't this beautiful to be here together and to be able to create and share something together in this infinite cosmos? We join hands and there we share a growing love. I, I am Krishna. This is the name that I am given as I present myself to you this day. With gratitude and love, I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Krishna.
And so, dear Mike, I understand that there are things that you might be seeking from me this day.
That's correct. Some answers that and trying to reach and get clarity with. Yes.
Yes.
Shall I begin with my first question?
Yes, please.
My uncle Charles, that I recently passed 2 years ago, I feel very connected to him, and I see his. Every time I mention him, I feel his energy like come hover over me or within me. Is he trying to reach me, or is he like a spirit guide? That's kind of what I feel from him.
I'm very happy to open this up because what he is doing is that he is creating this type of link, strengthening it for you. So a spirit guide would be a very good way of thinking of it. You could even think it even as something closer to you. So a very, very intimate ancestor. You and him are well deeply connected through lifetimes and also through human lifetimes. We sense different instances here. There is, for instance, a lifetime coming up in the 1400s. Here, you are his mother and you are nursing him back to health. We sense we are in the island of Java somewhere. But that's to say that the two of you have often done this service to each other of, let's say, loving refocusing. So you may sense that his passing is, as you are describing, also oddly strengthening your own bond to this world. So the fact that he has gone before you and is creating this connection to a greater sense of brightness and confidence within you, that's actually building your connection to life. So yes, he is very active and he loves you dearly.
Oh God, I love him so much. My other one was I was supposed to have one, maybe two children with other women. Are any of them trying to connect to me? That that one was a miscarriage and one was told to be an abortion. So I don't know if they were trying to connect to me.
This is an understandable question. From a human perspective, we see why you feel a connection to these children. That is what we're pointing to, is that you had already set forward that energy to connect to them, that protective fatherly energy. You had already made ready the love to connect to these children. And you may sense that this love has become, in that sense, slightly homeless in the fact that it didn't then find that expression in this lifetime. But in that sense, they are assuring you that, well, they were never meant to be in that way. That is to say that all human beings who are born are essentially meant to be born. So all these, we could say, well, unfulfilled pregnancies, whether that's due to one or another type of development, they are essentially that they are souls that will then move into the womb and have certain, let's say, experiences there. Sometimes even this process doesn't fully connect to a soul. So it's a type of weak link that's then severed, but it serves, let's say, greater purposes in the greater flow of the ocean of energy. So in that sense, we can just assure you that everything is right in that respect, and that the love that you have developed there is treasured. And notice that it's the love that remains that you actually have, and you still have that to give in other places in this life.
Okay. The next question I have is professional. I currently do insurance in my job. Uh, are there any other avenues besides this? Besides, like I can see like management or another position, but any other avenues that like voiceover work, acting work, anything with media? I kind of feel that direction too with my career.
You already know what your heart is calling forward. So you may sense that it's time for a shift. That is why you are presenting this question to us. So many things have been shifting for many human beings in these strange times. But notice also that time of passing where Charlie went to show you the way, we could say. That is, that he also went away in this great shift where you stayed behind. And the reason you stayed behind was to pursue more of your true light, fire, and passion. So I could ask you, dear Mike, is there something you feel, a step you could take, perhaps today, perhaps tomorrow, to bring you closer to that expression of yourself?
There is definitely, yeah.
Because you will be supported in this. This might, at some point, we will say, developing in your life, there may be in 3.5 months approximately, you will sense a growing need to make a type of decision in your career. This will require a type of leap of faith, but notice the relief that you are feeling also when you hear this message again about that prospect, that you are actually looking to express yourself otherwise. And notice that what we are doing here, also the reason that I asked you to put the questions to me, is that you are really opening yourself up. There has been a lot of shielding, armoring that has been necessary earlier in your life. And now it's time to shed those because they're no longer protecting you, they're keeping you limited.
Hmm. This question could probably be combined into one. I want to find out about my animal energy, like shark, snake, cheetah, dog energy. But does that also, because I don't know much about this stuff, like to Arcturian, Pleiadian, or reptilian, does that kind of?
Yes, it actually seems like you are quite knowledgeable in understanding that there are very many energies in your general energy field, and then some are much more pronounced than others. And that would be, let's say, more of your spirit animal energy. Here we sense the badger is coming forward.
Wow.
It's this, you may also connect it to an animal such as the wolverine, but it's this quite tenacious, rough being. You may sense that there's a sturdiness within you. There's also a willingness to burrow deep, to go into places, sometimes go into hiding or hibernation, to really figure out where you want to go and apply your strength. But you may also sense that the challenge of this animal then is sometimes to expand, to really get up on its hind legs. And so what you may want to treat yourself to is, for instance, singing. Just remind yourself that you actually do like to sing, you do like to feel your voice
I do.
expressing itself. And that would be a great expansion within you.
Right.
Then moving on to, let's say, more extraterrestrial energies, we sense you are in particular connected to the star Sirius. This again has to do with very compact, pronounced energies. So where we talked about the Arcturians being healing, they work more in, let's say, constructing chambers or spaces that can heal you. The Syrians are very much about activating DNA, empowering the density from the place where you are at, and really feeling like your body is becoming charged, fulfilling more physical energy. So you do have, let's say, a deep quality of physical expression that the more you honor it and the more you express it in like these wonderful gestures such as acting, singing, physical expression. We sense swimming may also be something that you would enjoy looking into as a balancing activity. These things are really something that you should allow yourself to get into.
Perfect. This could be two-part or one. Any timeline, or do I connect to any famous or not so famous people that I'm close to on this realm?
Oh, this is interesting. You may sense that there is a lore here. What the person that's coming forward, we believe this is quite far in the encyclopedic mind that's translating us, but we believe his name is Joel Schumacher, and he may be connected to producing action movies or something like that. We actually sense that this person will cross paths with you. It will be in the Western US. We actually sense Las Vegas as the possible encounter, somewhere approaching, let's say, late April 2023. So should you find yourself in that vicinity at that point, you may notice that you are on that timeline, and it's likely that you will cross paths with this individual.
Do you see, because I said my Uncle Charles was like a spirit guide, my guardian angels, I'm interested in knowing them.
Yes, this also pertains to your higher self. And here, oh, good fortune and luck, there is a type of loophole that this entity or vessel that's translating us operates with. And that is, he connects to the higher selves of the guardian angels of people. So he will actually, sensing that he has your permission, forward you onto this being.
Okay.
And so, with love, Mike, I come to you from the high ethers of our soul group. I call myself Lini. Liniel would be the full name. That would be an L, an E, and then an N, an I, a hyphen, an E, and an L. This would be the vibration you can connect to me to. What I represent is the guardian force, the heavenly encasing of your deep soul. What is your soul? It's a star that's shimmering on all levels of reality simultaneously. And what you are experiencing here is simply some of its manifestations. I'm protecting these manifestations in order for them to connect back to the unified field of our shared experience.
And one was about me and Swasti, our galactic connection, our love connection.
Yes, you may sense that this connection pertains to, well, partially there are interesting entities operating in, let's call it, the outer rim of the solar system. These are a species, they are known as the Olm. It is quite interesting because they have come forward connecting to another private individual, but this is a type of high-minded reptilian race. They are working on, they're playing around with asteroids essentially, but they are still very much in the physical, in the sixth dimension. So you may sense that you guys are, in a sense, earth projections of these beings. Therefore, you may also sense that some of the themes that you are exploring in this lifetime, they are slightly witchy. So they pertain to these higher centers of power that you are helping each other release in your lives. And this is something that you may want to explore. Also, the two of you have been involved in certain secret societies. We are sensing in Central Asia, around southwestern Kazakhstan, in the 1500s. Here there is a type of Shia sect that's operating in the hidden, and you are exploring different types of incantations, deep symbols and invocations of power. This is something that the two of you have in common, and it is a meaningful encounter for the two of you to be joining hands in this lifetime again.
And I guess my last questions are my Jesus questions. When I was, and I'd be the, I guess, transition. When I was going into rehab, I felt my body was all messed up through excessive drug use, and I felt like a healing in a doorway, like he was like pushing my body back together. I don't know, it could have been Krishna too, but I thought it was Jesus or a godlike presence doing it. If you have any sense of that.
Yes. And now the voice speaking to you is the voice that human beings have known as Jesus. I am that point of consciousness known as the Christ. And it was indeed me that was guiding you that day, dear. This is, well, we can take many shapes and forms, but notice that this was the guidance that you sought. It was the star, the brightness in the darkness. And often people connect to me also because I'm the one who is willing to descend into dark reaches of experience to bring out the light again. And there I helped you, but it was your own readiness and willingness to heal that made it so.
Wow. And the second question to that, I Swasti always sees like an X connected to me, and that cross or X, is that a Jesus energy, or is that something different?
This, let's say, speaks more to the deep explorations the two of you have done together. You may see that if you began to also explore many of these chants invocations, we could even call them hymns that the two of you have practiced together 2 lifetimes, are practicing together now in other lifetimes, you will find that you will unlock some of these deep grids, energy grids in your body. And this X, you could think of it as a Christ-like appearance within you, in the sense that what's happening to you is that you're being broken open. Your heart is being, we could almost say, sorry for the expressive language, tortured open here. And it's this forced opening that you experience going through so much hardship that has opened you to the light of Christ, or the deep light of love that exists within everything, it being the same thing, essentially.
And I think I have time for one more. When I was in rehab, the woman was the director's mother. She prayed over me, and I was at a very low place, very depressed. And as soon as she put like her healing touch on my hand, I felt like she was channeling like a Jesus-like energy. And as soon as I felt it, I felt like I wasn't going to get better right away, but like everything positively shifted towards like a Jesus-like, God-like energy, where I was kind of just slowly being healed, and I was restored to like where I used to be. Is she part of that Jesus energy? Her name was Karen.
She was, And this is the idea seen from this high perspective also when I walked the earth, that what I did was I simply activated the light within people. You could think of this as your energy body. So what happened when she touched you was that that restored pure healed vision around you became intact again. It was put back together. And this then began to phase into your life. So essentially what you are experiencing now is you are trying to catch up with the light that is around you. But this great shift has already happened. So you can also take solace and know that, well, the great shift, the choice that you were to make, whether or not you wanted more self-destruction or you wanted to walk towards the light, you have already taken that. And you may also notice in the Gospels that as I heal people, my instruction was often for them to not sin anymore or to tell them that their faith was what had saved them. And that is indeed that all I could do was to restore that vibration and to put that into their field in such a convincing way that they themselves also believed it with true unbroken faith. But for some of these people, which the Gospels do not necessarily tell, some of them did not retain that vibration. Some of them then, for whatever reason, chose to fall back, and there the healing went away, we could say. So know that it is you that is continually allowing for this great restoration, for this awakening to the true light being that you are to take place.
And I think I have one more. I have this strange affinity with Gnostic text, and I was always kind of conflicts with my Catholic upbringing. So, am I more correct in my leaning of like that Jesus was more like the Gnostic text, or more like how the Bible portrays him? Because I always see him as more of like a light figure, and just passing through this life, and just meant to ascend and show us the way how to do that. That's how I see Jesus.
Yes. Well, I would like to say that my love allows for all interpretations of my being. So even the very dark interpretations, we could say the misuses of my teachings, my love has allowed for them too and anticipated it. But it is true that, well, the church, in whatever form that comes, Catholic or otherwise, they often present only a slight subset of understanding of my true nature, of that full potential of my being. And then their mistake becomes that they do not tolerate that there may be other very helpful ways of connecting to that. And it is true, as you are discovering also through the texts in Nag Hammadi and these uncoverings of the Essenes, that I came out of a deep tradition, a knowledge of the light that is essentially 10,000 years old in that form. It had been passed on through secret societies in those cultures. And there, they in a sense produced or summoned my being as a type of kernel of light into this dense space, anticipating the darkness that would follow. And so you are right in following these pursuits. Please do follow your heart. And we can also, to calm you, say that many people are at this moment allowing themselves to connect to my energy personally. And it has always been that, also in the Middle Ages or other spaces, when people connected to me personally, that the power, the truth of my gospel came into the world again. And this is how you're doing it. And so the reason that the vessel here translating us has some problems with the, let's say, channeling my being has been because he himself was brought up in the Lutheran iteration of a church, which also has great taboos about thinking that you are divine in some way or another. But it is indeed what I showed you was that the divine light lives in you as it lives in me. It is one light that has many forms.
I
Jesus,
think
do we both have a path together to connect to the Christ light? Because I feel strongly guided to become the Christ or share the same lifetime together on higher realm.
You are already becoming the Christ, dear. This is inevitable. We are all united in this being. Indeed, what I am is a mirroring of the perfected human being, we could say, the true male-female nature of everything. So there are also different versions of my being, different messiahs, you could say, that come in female forms. That are some even that have come in, let's say, more strange divine forms. But yes, in what space would you like us to connect to your energy? Or let us say, how would you like to see this fulfillment flowing forward?
I would want to become more like you when you lived as Jesus, as to walk in your energy, to bring the God in you, that as I think that you brought more light or more love through you. Can I have more of you coming through me? That's my only wish.
Yes, notice the sincerity of this prayer and then allow yourself to see how it is already fulfilled. So notice what light does is that it doesn't draw attention to itself, but rather it makes everything else visible. And that's why you may notice that the light that's already coming through you, it's not seeing itself as much as it's seeing other things in its loving energy. So what you can do with growing this energy is to take stock of the way that you are already very loving. So notice the great love, surplus, abundance you bring into this co-creation, for instance. This is that the Christ energy that's being channeled here, as you call it, is actually something that is being added to by the brightness in all of the individuals present. And we thank you for holding that vibration so brightly.
Thank you. And are you and Jesus connected together? How did you bring his energy, or how did he bring your energy so quickly? Are you one and the same?
Well, yes, you may sense that what happened in these channeling shifts was that Krishna is another form of my energy. This is a more deified version of it, we could say. That is, it's perhaps slightly more otherworldly than the Jesus manifestation which I took. But we are the same point of illumination, of anointment, of great enlightenment that shines eternally. And so from Krishna over to the angelic realms, or the guardian angel, we believe was called Lineal, and then to the shift into the expression of the Christ energy, there were only very, very short vibrational jumps.
Okay. And I wanted to ask, I did so many courses in resurrection, and my purpose of, did I connect to your brother Excalibur? Was he really your brother when I got initiation done? Did it serve any purpose with Mother Akasha and a son? Was I connecting to you?
We sense this was connected to, let's call it the paladin element of my energy, more of this crusader empowerment within you. It was helpful at that time for you to feel like you had more fighting spirit, because that is a type of element of the light too, that it also defends and protects. So yes, there was an activation. What you may see that you are opening up to now is more of the loving abundance of the surrendering heart, the heart that allows for everything to be.
Is your purpose, or was your purpose, to finally show the human being how to ascend or how to resurrect? Is that my purpose as well?
We believe you already hold the answer to that within your heart. And so you sense that this path it has already been opened for you because
Thank you.
you seek it already. I could say yes, but wouldn't that almost be a shame to spoil the fun of you discovering this mystery? And so I would rather ask you, what is your preferred method of resurrection?
I don't want to leave as like normal human body leaves the body. I want to leave my body in complete awareness that I'm leaving the body and connecting with the light as a conscious experience rather than a heart attack or a disease. I want to go like how I assume you left Jesus, consciously and connected with your angels. Is that possible for me in this life?
Yes, but also speaking of this Gnostic tradition that our beloved Mike mentioned, we would say that notice there were certain interpretations that also saw me being whisked away. So the idea was that it was only a type of husk or deception that death occurred in this world. And this is indeed how it looks for me. This is how it looks from the point of Christ consciousness, that we have so many shapes and forms, but they're all illusions, you may call them. They're real enough from their own perspective, of course. They're consistent. They hurt when you pinch them, things like that. But indeed, these bodies are shells that the light take on. And so notice that in that point, you will already be carried away or whisked away by angels. Many of the ideas of hell, purgatory, even, they speak of this transition into the shift of reincarnation, of resurrection, we could say. And the fact is that if you are not connected to the life, if you have spent a lifetime running from it, there will be an experience of a very, very painful transition into death. But notice that you, and this goes for all of you, you have actually already sought out to grow this connection, this awareness of your eternal self. And therefore, this is established, this is a type of preparation for death. That is essentially that you live eternally when you awaken to this truth. And this is indeed very possible. This is the path that you are heading. This is indeed, we could say, the timeline that you find yourself on.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jesus. And do you connect with me while even when I'm not connecting with you? Like, do you hover around me? Like, is your energy always there with me? I feel like a strong connection to you.
Yes, I protect you. You may sense that it is as if our connection is quite deep. And well, this speaks to the fact that where you belong to the wider circle of the congregation. So let's say you were playing around a hang around in those days. Some of the ones who tagged on around the disciples, you may know when you write a book, there needs to be some editing. There also are a lot of sacred secret codes embedded within, for instance, the order of the 12 disciples. But indeed, I was always pursued by a flock. And so we had conversations already in that time.
Was I actually healed? Like my eyes were healed by you in the timeline that you were here as Jesus?
Yes, you had, well, our friend here is a little, is it called cancreous? Or you had caked eyes of pus. It's a quite unpleasant image that's turning up, but you may sense that it was this type of infectious disease that resided in your eyes that were pressuring on your eyes. And so literally your eyes were opened, or you allowed me to open them.
You did it by like bringing God's energy, and you healed my eyes, and then I followed you around like you were God.
Yes, that's a way of saying it. What you did was rather exactly that I allowed to open up for the healing energy. Well, this God or the Father, it essentially speaks to the point of creation. That's the point of stillness that's beyond everything. So, a way that I see reality from my point in eternity, this point of eternal life, is that there is this great big healing stillness. I called this God the Father to make people understand. And it was simply by drawing you in and connecting you to that space that you were restored and healed, but you allowed for it. And then what you did was that you made sure that people were tended to in the flock. You made sure for provisions. You tried to also make sure that, the persecutors, people who were angry with you, would also, well, understand and deal nicely with the flock. So in that way, you didn't just you didn't just follow around like a groupie, you were serving an important community function. And indeed, what happened, what I really brought to reality was also a type of deep spiritual community to people who aligned with the light.
Oh, and I have on my driveway, I have written like you can walk on water, and that I dedicate to you. And then I have God's hands, and on top of the God's hand is a girl that's symbolic of me with her wings that I can walk. So I am dedicating this energy to you. So I am connecting to you in some way, or maybe I'm feeling it like I can actually do some of the things through you or through connecting to the Christ energy. Can you feel like that Christ energy in me that wants to rise through you when I did that or when I wrote that? Can you see it? Can you feel that part of me?
Yes, in that sense, I feel, well, I can feel all parts of you in that sense, but I do whenever you direct my attention to me, and that is you personally, but any human being, I do connect, I meet that prayer, and that is why I listen attentively when a human heart reaches out to me in one form or another.
Okay. And is my aura golden? Like I feel like you have a golden aura from ruling over the golden galaxy. Do I come from the same galaxy as you, or we have the same aura, of the golden pink light?
This is beautiful. We sense that you have taken another roundabout. So we stem from the same source, we could say. It's we're trying to make this accessible in human understanding. Is if you imagine a set of cauldrons in the higher dimensions that are all bubbling with creation potential. And from these different cauldrons, you could see them as slightly different colored, different soul groups arise. And here we do belong to that same pink cauldron. But from that perspective, we then diverted into very, very wide arrangements of experiences. So you may sense that you are exploring more of the outer reaches. That is, I'm a central kind of entity. I move and align with the light, and you may sense that you also have a type of enjoyment in seeking where the light meets the dark. Where is the perimeter? Where is the boundary? And how can the light be expanded and slightly become greater in its circumference?
Yes, and do I channel the creator when I'm writing? I feel like I'm sometimes saying like I'm channeling God himself. Like all the words are not flowing from myself or from my brain, but it's coming from some higher self. Do you feel like I'm doing that already for several years now? especially when I'm with other people. Are you helping me? Who's guiding me? Who's bringing the words through me to other people?
Well, the smile on my face and my amusement is also this recollection of the great love that I have for human beings, how sweet you are that you have these fun games with yourself, that you sense you are doing these things, you feel you're doing these things, you know you're doing these things, you sense the love and the vibration. And yet there is an element of doubt where you like us to also confirm that yes, we are connected. It is this sensation of love, of guidance you feel that is truly what is happening. Well, we believe the term that I prefer to use was Holy Ghost. You can call this many things. Our friend here calls them the quanta when he translates them. But it is indeed universal spirit coming through your personal conduit. And it is a very beautiful exercise.
And then me and Mike constantly see certain numbers. He associates with 1133. I do as well. And my son is born on the 333 energy. And I see, Jesus, do you see me, or can you see like 1144, 144, like so many numbers like just coming up? Are you guiding me? Is it God? Is it spirit? Who is doing all these? What is the purpose of these numbers to me?
We could say it is your higher self. Spirit is a good term for it as well, because it's this idea that that part of you that's outside seems like the world or something that is outside, but it's actually emanating from your vibration. And so when you are seeing these numbers, it's a sign that you are connecting to more of your true self. So when you come, you were speaking of these 90 Arcturians that are not in the physical, they see the world much more as a tapestry of geometries and code, of these types of numbers and proportions that are written into everything. Even what you understand as random thought processes or dreams, they see as proportioned. So, for instance, the idea that certain dreams actually have relations to each other energetically over a lot of years, and the human mind can really cope with the fact that, well, there's a numerology at play when you're having a weird dream when you're 5, that's then being amplified and finished in different ways when you're 59, perhaps. But this is actually a lot of what's going on, and a very visible sign that this is moving into your conscious awareness is that you're seeing it on the outside, that number synchronicity, guidance, meetings, connections are things that are expanding for you.
But what is symbolic of 144? Is it specifically related to you in any way? Why do I see that more than any other number? 144, is it related to you or anything in particular? I love your smile and your laugh a lot.
We are also trying to still the vessel here translating us, because his happiness in having this question answered is great. That number also disturbs him a great deal. It comes up constantly, and he often feels as if it's almost a kind of tease from the other side, that is, they're showing him something that's meaningful, but he doesn't understand why it's meaningful. So you may sense that this is the dilemma, and that's a part of the game that is being played with you by these very higher loving energies. That is, they're guiding you home by putting in these kind of mysteries, these patterns that are attracting you then to seek out information, to seek out experience, to seek out deeper layers of your reality. Then 144 speaks to, again, notice the connection then to these proportions of 3 or divisions, because this is also a third of the solfeggio frequency. So if you were to triple it, you would arrive at 432, and this would then again speak to the fact that you are actually right now in your physical experience in complete harmony with the other layers of your reality. And this is a very, very, very helpful sign. Then it's also a number of rebirth, we could say. Notice that the numerology contains also 3 numbers, and those add up to 9. This also then speaks to these deep cyclical phases of creation that exist within your being. So yes, do feel cheerful when this number appears.
And on behalf of Mike, I wanted to ask you, like, is he connected to you in any timeline?
Yes, well, partially you have sought out my energy in monastic experiences in many ways. We sense, for instance, a life here in the late 600s in we believe they might be known as the Outer Hebrides, these islands to the west of Scotland, where you spent, well, we find that the name of the monastery, it is not Lindisfarne, but it is one of the other very renowned monasteries that reside up there. And there you spend time composing hymns, essentially, was what you were doing. So singing, writing poetry, praising, me and my being connecting to the Lord in these vast spaces.
We were both doing it together, Jesus?
Yes, if we are all doing it together.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Okay, that's beautiful. Another thing, am I connected to Poland and other places where like Mike's energy is, like Poland, Russia, and all the places?
Do you feel connected to this energy?
I meet people who are like so loving from that place sometimes, but I hate the food. It's horrible. And
There's Switzerland and England too.
in England.
We believe that that's one of the hallmarks of these cultures is that they almost also hate their food themselves. They just like to pretend like they don't. But of course, we are coming to you then from a geographical place which has a, let's say, very condescending relationship to food that doesn't come from Italy in particular. So in that sense, notice that these are cultures where people have often made a type of art of going without. So simply the climates in England too, for that matter, have been places where life has been slightly suppressed. And well, this has brought forward a type of ingenuity in people. So they often seek, let's say, humor in dark situations, for instance, trying to transmute unfortunate things into also humorous perspectives or resolve and resilience. And these are energies that you may feel you resonate with in a lot of helpful ways.
Like when I die, like can I consciously ask you to see you in light? That's like one thing I want to do. Like, can I make a wish right now in your presence that when I die and I pass over, I want to see Jesus in the light? Can I ask you for that?
I promise you, I will be there before, with you, and after.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And Mike has another question. Mike, you can go on about Barbadello. I don't know anything about him.
Oh, that was part of like the Gnostic. Did Jesus, when he ascended, did he connect also not only with the Father, but in Gnostic text, there's something about a connection to like a Mother Ocean Barbelo that's even above the Father. Is that something accurate, or is that something just misinterpreted?
This is helpful. Well, we could say expressing these in genders, it was a way to understand or relate to these very great universal impersonal energies. So we could say where, as you also know, for instance, that's from a spiritual tradition such as Taoism, that there is indeed a type of unified divine field at play, but that the way that this is perceived, apprehended, comes forward is always in a type of interplay, subdivision, dance. And well, what is greater than the dance of the male and the feminine? And here, God the Father represents that eternal point of stillness, where the Mother represents the everflow. And this is the energy that is always active, always seeking compassion, mercy, and intercession, we could say. And that is why the Gnostics are correct in associating me with this mother energy, and why even in Catholicism, this mother energy somehow mysteriously lived on as incredibly, incredibly significant, because it is this idea that the son emerges from the great loving mother, but it is indeed actually her benevolence, her caring, that makes his eternal return, my loving stepping into the world in this moment as in all moments, that it makes that warranted. It is, we could say, actually my mother who sent me to care for you.
Thank you, Jesus. And was I connected to you in Pleiades as your child? Have you taken care of me as a father, as a dad?
Well, my fathering responsibilities ended a long time ago. So this would be more aligned with the principle, as Saint Peter, that has some of these, let's say, more fatherly aspects of incarnation playing out. So I have never been a father to you, but I have often been a guide, a companion, and instructor.
But you are in Pleiades. Did you ever incarnate in Pleiades as me?
Well, in the Pleiades, they know me quite differently. So this would be a type of energy where we could say human concepts of Jesus, Krishna, Buddha, such things would cease to make much sense to them. So the idea is that family structures, energy alignments, physicality, everything that you think of as basic components of reality are completely, completely, completely different in other alien realms. There are such constants as love, connectivity, but the funny thing about the universe, why it's such a cool place, is that it's always exploring itself in new ways.
Okay. And then I feel like my cells of my brain are sometimes opening, or I'm drawn to looking at the sun, and my third eye, and I have third eye experiences, and so does Mike. Who's helping us with this? Is this our energy, or are we being helped by someone?
I would like to throw the question back to you, whether it's important, we could say, because again, it's this nuance that you are essentially always allowing yourself to open up to things that then help you. So as long as you are incarnate having an experience, you are having this idea of, well, there's a you and then there's something that's not you, and that's very helpful. But the idea is, it's actually by then adjusting the parts of you opening up to something, that more of that not you can flow in and become you. So that's the idea, that what you are opening up to, the both of you, are indeed the universal sacred Holy Ghost, that energy that has many names, prana, chi, so forth and so on. It's this energy that's opening up to you, that's becoming more of you, and you're becoming more of it. And well, what's happening to you then is that you are being, let's say, assisted in this by all your guides, your higher selves, many of these things, because what is going on is that you are being initiated into some of these, we could call them solar mysteries. If you were to then go to the Essenes, to these sources, even some of the elder Egyptian mysteries that they also sprang from to some extent, you will find that, well, the worship of the sun disk, the realization that there is within the human skull a type of magic contact disk that mirrors the sun, is indeed, it holds the light of a star, and this is your true nature. As you awaken to this, you will become more as stars yourself, experience yourselves more as radiant beings that are emanating love and light from your center. And then notice then, this is the figure of the saint. This is the halo that appears among sacred figures in all traditions. It is this emanation of light expanding from your skull that is growing.
So if we keep focusing, we might have a halo just like you
Yes.
in our higher self. Oh my
And
God, thank
you
you.
not
Thank
even need to focus or force it through. Simply focus on the things that, well, follow your bliss or excitement, follow this intuition. Focus on those things as they come up, but allow for things to come forward. It is not something that you have to push yourself into. You have already made the invitation, offered the prayer, and it is being answered.
Am I connected? He's showing you his Christ symbol on his arm. Mike did. Am I and Mike connected in any Egyptian timeline at all with the god Ra, or in general? Did we have Egyptian lifetime? Because you're planning a trip to go to Egypt next year.
Yes, we do sense that you will find, in particular, the Temple of Karnak meaningful. We believe this is its name. Many of the lifetimes you are connected to is what we believe is called the New Kingdom, or this era in its history with the Valley of Kings. And it is in this area that, well, the both of you maintained certain functions in the mystery cult. You may sense, well, as often happens with these lightworker configurations, that there is a tendency to return to some of these functions of bringing in light, establishing spaces where that can be protected and harnessed. And so, yes, you have both been priests and priestesses in that cult.
Thank you for this. And are we connected to the Hathors, or am I connected with the Hathor feminine energy?
We sense that these are very present. That is, they may want to contact you further as you move closer to your trip. In particular, in the 7 weeks preceding it, it would be helpful for you to seek out connections to these Hathors and their divine mysteries. These are, let's say, connected to the opening also of certain star configurations. Again, this speaks to some of these incarnational connectivities. So let's say that your relation to these these serpentine creatures in the outer rim, they are also somehow active in your trip to Egypt. So lots of reawakenings, reactivations, and strange phenomena will begin to occur as you move closer into this creation of yours.
And our kind of my last question, this was more to like Mike. He has like a peacock feather on his arm, on his wrist, that he just got for me. And this is for more of for like Krishna actually, but I'm asking you the synchronicity that he noticed when he was getting the symbol on his arm while he was with another person and not with me. He saw the name Swazi written on the wall. Like all the synchronicities that me and Mike constantly see together. Could it be the vacation that we went to and he saw the painting of Hatteras behind his door? Like all these synchronicities, who's bringing it? And was it meant to happen? Then he saw my name while he was getting the tattoo done with his girlfriend at the time to connect us back together.
Well, there aren't really any coincidences from our perspective. At least when these things are concerned, it is always the case that two people whose energies are quite intertwined on a level where we could say soul contract stuff is being played out, they will experience this intensification of manifestation. That is, you are getting signs that your connection is very meaningful, that it is not over, and that there are things that you need to learn, heal, and grow from with each other in that respect. And so all these are, let's say, reminders or simply affirmations that this is meant to happen.
Thank you, Jesus. And me and Mike are blessed to have your presence. And now Mark is going to ask all his questions. Thank you for your divine presence.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Wonderful.
I guess my question is, I feel a strong connection to history and a lot of past lives. I'm wondering what lessons, I guess both good and bad, from those past lives should I sort of be bringing to this time, as far as how to serve others and maybe what I should learn myself or improve upon.
We sense that there is a cheerfulness in this question that's already informing where you are going with it. So that is that you may notice that what you're bringing forward is a type of the merriment of history. This is a strange term. The term actually speaks to you being a person who enjoys incarnation very much, that this is an energy that you are good at bringing to people. So often, notice we were speaking about, let's say, poor North European cuisine, and there you have a kind of energy where you actually find the silver lining in, let's say, dark developments. So this is much of what you're doing with history, is that you are sorting and connecting this, and by that you are essentially restoring humankind to its proper place in history as well.
Wow. Now I guess, like, from that, because I'm a personal trainer, but I'm also a wellness coach, which is kind of like a life coach. And the life coaching, I'm trying to start my own business. So how can I'm trying to figure out how I can kind of share that light and help others in the world. Like, am I on the right direction? And I'm also looking at maybe trying to do it internationally to some degree, but like, I need guidance. Like, is there any advice or thoughts to move me forward on that?
There is a type of sequence of events here. We could say this is also helpful advice in Mike's case, because, well, what's happening to the both of you as you were examining these types of expansions professionally is that because this is an impulse that's coming to you from your higher selves, that is something that you are really, let's say, excited about, that's already manifest and calling you forward, then it can seem a little jumbled in the present moment. And so notice that you are already on the path. So what you do is that you keep reminding yourself of the successes you are having in this, with the joy and the thrill that you are actually gaining from just seeing this grow, and then know that that in and of itself is a type of inevitable expansion that will then happen. Then you may want to focus, we sense, on owning, let's say, your particular resonance. That is, we sense that you may have a very helpful connection to, let's say, men who have a hard time opening up to some of their emotional qualities. And this is because you essentially understand both. You have a quite solid masculine energy that's very comforting to be around. And this will be then something that actually, we could say, strangely enough, will also allow other men to be more open to joy, essentially, many other good balances in their life.
Wow. Okay. Actually, that was kind of funny because I was thinking about doing having a men's group that might help them navigate the difficulties in the dating world. So very, very, very cool. I guess my next one is I've been really kind of seeing like signs with color. Like both my high school and colleges or college was blue and white. And I'm having dreams of the next girl I'm going to see, and her colors are red and gold. Like, I don't know if there's any significance in either of them, like the coloring but like I said, it's kind of, I see it a lot in a lot of things. So I wonder if there's any significance there, I guess. That's what I'm asking.
We would like to have you examine the association. So thinking of blue and white, what comes to mind for you?
I guess it's blue is I just think is kind of like a almost like a royal color, like just like a white, like it's just, or like blue and silver. I think it's just very elegant, I guess. Is how I would explain it.
Yes, because what we sense here is a type of pattern that's connected to, or we forget the name of the French lily. We believe there is a term, but it's the classic French coat of arms. And so there is a type of connection here that speaks to, this is interesting. Here we find ourselves in approximately the 1300s. We sense you are a nobleman, count in the region of, we believe it's called Reims, in Rheims. And well, what is happening here? This girl that you're connecting to, she's actually your wife in this lifetime. And
Wow.
the reason that you're perceiving her in these colors is that there was a huge dowry involved, and then there was a type of, she died in childbirth. So these are essentially the colors that are going here, and that is that you may sense that there's actually the two of you coming together will be a restoration. So when you are looking for, then don't necessarily look for a red-haired girl draped in gold or something, but take this more as, the resonance that you get, the sense that there is both a golden light, a heaviness, but we could say almost a richness that she brings with her into life. And then there's also this, we could say you will have a need to not necessarily protect her, but also feel that there is life force to be shielded in helpful ways.
Wow. So will I meet her in this lifetime?
Yes, we sense that the time frame here we are getting, but in this timeline we sense 10 to 13 months is kind of the place where you might feel that this will develop.
Okay. And one other thing, I don't know if it's associated with her, but a lot of times when I think of her, either associates with the number 15 and a nickname of Wildfire, which hence with the red and gold. I don't know if there's any meanings on that.
This is the interesting. It's speaking to some of these alchemical secrets. So you began after this mishap in the 1300s. You began undertaking on serious experiments with different types of elements, and you were in particular fascinated with working with sulfur, these types of fires. And so what this is speaking to is type of this fiery flame element. What you may want to awaken to see that this connection also materializes is actually to go the other route. So get into your alchemical experimentations, play around with fire, we could say, and you could use this metaphorically also to know that you are a person who has a lot of playful energy, and you're good at anchoring things. So you can actually allow yourself to also be a little risk taking. And then the number 15, well, it also speaks to the number 6. There are certain configurations, but one of the numerologies here is the expression of the lovers, the number of the lovers, the perfect harmony, the number 6. But you may also sense that it's the 1 and the 5, so it's the feminine circumference of the pentagram and the male point that comes together. It speaks of a great union.
Great. Wow. I guess going forward, because I like space travel, like is at some point in one of my lifetimes, will I get to see that either here or in some other way, shape, or form down the line, many years from now?
That is an interesting question. We don't know if you will necessarily regard this as space travel, but there may be experiments with having a trip into orbit. That would be something that, well, within approximately 25 years would become more accessible to human beings. So being able to have that experience of seeing the world without. But then there is, you may sense that there are certain curiosities, fancies within your being already drawing you to looking into more the extraterrestrial contact. What is the UFO in fact? And have you perhaps already visited one and are now beginning to recall what it might be like to be out there?
Excellent. As far as you, Jesus, my spirit guides, like I always try and keep you in my daily life. As far as I guess what can I do to greater serve humanity at this point in time too, with all the craziness that's going on?
Well, you teach men how to date.
Okay.
But it's simply the reminder that notice that these impulses are coming from a place, and it's not for everybody to be, let's say, helping others by giving to the poor or working as doctors or something that you may think of as a very clearly helping profession. But what really helps humanity is that you are all allowing yourself to become more of yourself, because there is a great mosaic of light playing out. And as you move into more who you are and share your brightness, you are allowing other people to have that experience. And don't underestimate the ripple effects that this can have. That, well, if a man actually learns to just move a bit beside some of the blocks that have been, well, preventing him from connecting to another human being in a heartfelt way, and this then happens in his life, and then this heartfelt connection grows and two people come together, and of course they have the ups and downs of a relationship, but they are also essentially helping each other be their better selves, and that in turn of course also helps the world. So just notice that the brightness that you all hold here and that you have been called to, it is a type of inevitability that will expand in your lives.
Excellent. And I know we've talked a little bit about numbers, but I definitely see the number 1010 a lot. I don't know if there's any significance on that.
It heralds new beginnings.
Okay.
It is indeed the first number that this vessel translating us began to be plagued by or hounded by, as it turned up, and now it is beginning to turn up again. It is often a sign that even though you feel like your life is informed by, let's say, older manifestations or energies from your old place, the new is already taking place. It has reconfigured and is moving into your life. So your energy body is indeed already holding that potential. and feeding it into your experience. That's the 10-10.
Okay, good. I know, sorry, I'm a little all over the place here, but as far as music goes, like I like a lot of almost like Celtic or like Irish rock, but then I also like more like almost like futuristic dance. So I almost feel like it's from different times. I'm wondering the connection, especially with the Celtic or the Irish, kind of the traditional. I'm curious if that kind of stems from like pastimes or anything like that. Is my attraction towards that?
Well, you may sense that this specific musical tradition has had a quite wide appeal outside of that island itself, and it's not only because so many sons and daughters of Ireland made their way to the New World, but it is also because it has a joyful fairy vibration, we could say. And here you are indeed in that, and we could say even in both these endeavors, also the more futuristic type of music, moving into something that's more raw, pure, arcane in your vibration. So you may notice that some of the energies that are connecting to you at the moment, for instance, have to do with the, you sometimes call them the Sasquatch, they have different names, but these beings that actually exist on a higher dimension, but connected to the planet and really are stewards of the forest, stewards of the physical, stewards of the biological, of what can grow. And this is something that you're being called towards. So you may also sense that letting plants into your life would be good for you.
Excellent. And the other thing, just think of it, how, as far as how can I increase my divine connection? What can I do to get better at that? Because I feel like I'm doing better, but I still feel like I need to be a little more productive on that front.
Yes, it's a very good question, because what you are pointing to is the kind of trick that you have to play with yourself, that you focus on not focusing. So we could say the ambition of productivity, it's helpful because it's that idea that then you actually guide your attention towards a helpful outcome, a growth. But at the same time, it's also a focus that steers you away from the eternal voice that's always speaking to you. So indeed, we could say the voice of Christ, the voice of the divine, and the voice of your higher selves, the voice of God, they sound very similar because they all speak this language of deep truth. And how you seek that guidance or how it comes forward, that may be different or depend on how you connect. But what you're looking to do is actually to create spaces in your life where you are doing nothing, where there is nothing on the schedule. And that will be challenging for you, we sense, because you are actually a person who also enjoy doing things. But it is indeed this type of counterbalance, and you may want to experiment with this simply by clearing. We actually sense mornings would be best for you, but if you could, once a week or how it is allowed for, spend a morning that is getting up early and then going to a place with natural surroundings and then being there for 3 hours with no explicit purpose. That would help you very much in this endeavor.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm very grateful. Actually, I don't think I really have any more questions. Swasti, if you want to add on to anything.
I can ask a lot of questions for you. So for Mark and me, are we connected to the fairy realm together in Scotland or areas near it? Could be England.
Yes. Well, the fairy realm it's stronger some places than in others, and we actually sense that you are connected to it also around, we sense the northern shore of the Great Lakes. There are also certain very vital energies in, and this may be a place where you are both drawing power from, but we could say your fairy experiences, incarnations, how you may think of this, they have actually taken place more in the area known as Romania. And here you may sense, we believe they're called the Sinas here, but that there is a type of affinity connection to this area for the both of you, for some of these enchanted mountain lands that lie there, for instance.
Oh, thank you. And then Mark has certain swords. Are they meant to come to him because there was one that he got as a present? Was he meant to acquire them? And does Mark have that energy of that sword in him? Because I know they have a particular energy that pulls him into it and then him into the sword.
Yes, we believe that you had also been connected to Excalibur here, and we may sense that, well, you yourself, Swasi, you have certain,
Yes.
let's say, knightly experiences also in your past, though this perhaps speaks more to well, a type of, we believe it might be called ministerialis, or a type of fighting servant, but still in knight's attire. And this is an entirely different story. You actually served Mark in a period also in.
I served Mark.
Yes. So you may notice that you have actually been his squire. This is then in a lifetime that's also connected to the Middle Ages. Here we are slightly earlier, and here he is more in the area known as Bohemia, what might be called Czechia today. But here he's an early crusader, essentially. So I see you guys heading off on the first crusade, and you may sense that these swords, these history motifs, they are very, very prevalent in your energy field, Mark, which is why it's something that just excites you, fills you with joy, is something that you're connecting to.
Did Mark ever train me in sword fighting, or was I ever a sword fighter? Because I had a synchronicity where I was connecting to a being called Excalibur, and then I was watching a random TV program and it said the word Excalibur in Big Bang Theory. Like, is Excalibur like an energy that I live with? Am I like is it a being?
Well, it's partially, we believe, the sword in the stone, or the sword that's connected to King Arthur, but it also speaks to, it's an energy of power, essentially. It's a type of spell or seal. So you could think of it as an activation of the angelic armory. That's a way of thinking about it. And this is connected to you. But yes, you did do a lot of sword fighting. Essentially, the squire often does as much sword fighting as the knight, but he just doesn't get the credit for it.
I did a lot of sword fighting. Oh, and then Mark is very driven into line dancing. Is this taking him somewhere? Is this how he's going to meet his like true love or soulmate or a love connection? Is this helping him in any way? This dancing thing that he is so tuned into?
Yes. This is the path that you want to follow. And also because you may sense that this is a very, let's say, healthy, happy place to connect sexually, that is simply in the matter of genders pairing up, that is through this very true, immediate, natural expression of dance, where you are not necessarily concealing yourself, but offering your energy to the situation and growing a joy with others in that type of ecstatic being together.
Oh, and I wanted to ask one more question for Mark. He just bought this new home. And is this like good energy for him? Is this moving him to a new timeline? And this whole movement of like doing new things and thinking of a new career and new things, is new things coming to him?
If I say no, I hope you wouldn't believe me. That is to say that, yes, I can truly affirm this, that you are already seeing the signs. So that is this is already manifest. A new home is a very, very clear sign of new developments. And when this is matched up with other expansions in your life, it is essentially a sign that whatever crises may also have led to you making those changes, they are actually far over the tipping point. And now what is beginning is a new wave is building in your life that will take you higher and to better places than you have already been.
And have we both noticed a lot of numbers? I mean, I've been noticing lots of numbers, but with Mark, I noticed 1111 a lot. Is this a meaning that he's moving in spiritually much higher than before, or is it a twin flame or a soulmate? What is the meaning for 1111 for both of us?
Well, 1111 is the ultimate awakening code. So we could say 1111 is indeed a sign that new things are moving into your life. That is often the universal meaning of it. That is, it's a type of great opening. So it is, for instance, often accompanied by the 1010 often showing up in other situations, because the 1010 speaks to the fact that here's the foundation is laid, and then the 1111 speaks to the fact that, let's say, the new spiritual energy is coming into your life and filling or building on that foundation.
Okay, and Mark has a connection with a frog, and I have been part of the magician or magical kingdom. Is the frog symbolic of anything in the magical kingdom, or how is it connecting Mark to the frog, and how am I connected to the frog in my magical kingdom?
Well, in Mark's case, we pointed out that he had this ability as a type of world bridger, we could say. He was very good at holding material energies from a bright place. And the frog indeed straddles these worlds. It lives in the muck, and yet it jumps up effortlessly. It is indeed a great romancer sitting around and singing serenades in the spring, hoping to connect to someone. And in that sense, the frog is, for, let's say, all its otherworldly strangeness to human beings, quite dapper, chipper being. It really is a princely creature, and that's very helpful to also know that, like, if you are loving your frog side, you are indeed loving the side of yourself that you could perhaps tend to deem irredeemable. And this is very helpful, because this means that you are encapsulating all of your being, allowing for everything to be, both the muck, the chaos, but also the adventure, the turning into a prince. And then in your case, Swasi, this seems to be connected to, we are getting something like the mud flats of Namibia, and it has to do simply with a certain species of frog which has certain shape-shifting qualities, we believe, or some of these gender abilities to switch genders. And this speaks to, well, we could say all beings are in a higher manifestation form made up of both sexes, but that you have found also through, let's say, magical incarnations, an ability to switch these energies, to juggle around with them in a helpful and a meaningful way. And this speaks to a great empowerment within you.
Thank you. And then, should Mark be traveling anywhere? Would it help him to travel to other places like Scotland or any other part of the world that he should be traveling at all?
We do sense that this region, the regions that were mentioned in, well, all three of them, but in particular, we believe it's called the Ile-de-France, where Reims is located, Rheims, but this area of northern France we may sense may be interesting for him, also connected to perhaps later developments in history. And then we sense that, well, Transylvania, this area of Romania, holds some allure and may also be a place that's worth visiting. And in general, some of these Eastern European mountain chains, also such as the Carpathians, and might be places where there are adventures to be had. And we do sense a type of wanderlust building that, yes, would be good.
And Egypt? Does he have any connection to Egyptian timeline at all?
Well, most old souls have, yes. And so we sense that this is actually more in the Persian era of Egypt. So here he works as a type of, let's say, high administrator in the Nile Delta. He's a type of tax official, you could call it, as someone who makes sure that the proper resources are administered and doing these things. And we actually sense that this is also speaks to him often assuming entrusted positions. Again, this type of nobility of spirit that we see to come forward, this idea of the king's right-hand man, the vizier, and actually we sense then again a later Egyptian lifetime, which is more connected to, we believe it's the era, it's called the Mamluk era, and it's fairly late, it's before the Napoleonic invasion. But if you were to look into the history of this area in approximately the 1740s, believe in Upper Nile Delta, there might be things that might be interesting for you that would pique your interest. And
Okay.
and
I think our time is finishing, but is it possible that just ask one question for Mad's sister who wants to move to Pennsylvania? Is it possible for you to answer that question if this would be a good move for her and in this time? Elaine is her name.
we sense, yes, we sense that she is, let's say, already made the preparation. So we are very happy just to give her the affirmation that she's being called to this place, and she can rest assured that it will be a new, interesting adventure for her.
Okay, and was there a purpose in all of us connecting together today with Mad's energy?
Yes, well, again, with these sacred numerologies, we could say that the four of you have created a type of healing grid here, and you have actually, in ways that may be helpful to all of you, summoned or concentrated energies such as Krishna and Jesus, for instance, into your energy fields that really wanted to come in and assist and help you, to affirm you in the loving work that you are doing. And we sense that this coming from I, Christ the Light, that this has actually been done today, that all of you have been reminded in that deep way of remembrance of your own soul light that shines through the world. And that is my deepest joy. I feel most grateful when human beings connect to love, light, caring, and compassion. And therefore, thank you so much, dear ones. Is there anything that your hearts are overflowing with, something that you need answered before I leave you today with my blessings?
We want more love energy to flow through us. If you can please bless us that we are more guided to bring love into our lives and to others through us. And Mark has that purpose as well. And so does Mike.
I do.
We thank you for that intention, and we bestow this vibration on you. You
Thank you.
reverberate with starlight, beautiful loving being. My
Thank you so
gratitude.
much.
Thank
Thank
you, sir.
you. And now if you can bring Mads back.
Yes.
Mads, it was such a beautiful session, right, Mark? And
I
Mike?
loved it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, the energies were so beautiful. Did you feel a connection with Jesus?
You brought the light.
That was very beautiful. That was very special. Because my parents are ministers, so I have kind of like like a relationship to the whole stuff, and so connecting to him this way was just very, very, very special. I felt that was like he was this kind of star on a black backdrop. It was just very beautiful. And then you guys have such beautiful energy, so that really opened it up.
But Mads, what
What
is the difference you felt when you brought Krishna and then Jesus? Like, how did the merging occur within you? How was that like?
It's
Similar.
yes, it's a good question. Sorry, what's that, Mark?
I said, is it a similar energy, or is it like two sides of a coin, kind of?
Yes, I think that's a good way of describing it because it's like they both reside in this very, very bright, compassionate space, and then it is like it's almost like a color variation. It's just a slight variation in feeling and where they kind of want to go, where their focus and orientation is. But what I also felt Jesus was, and you probably also explained it, I think, but was this that it is kind of it's like a ball of light. It's like beautiful, perfected human consciousness that then is kind of shooting itself into human experience in different shapes. So sometimes it's Krishna, and sometimes it's Jesus, and sometimes it's Saint Francis, or it's just a shape that it needs to be loving and to show the world love. It will kind of take in whatever circumstances is needed. That's kind of my way of making sense of it.
Yeah, and Mads, you've been connected to Krishna, right? In some incarnation?
I think so. I want to say I haven't explored. I have like strange remembrances from Indian lifetimes.
What was your Indian lifetime? Can you share? Because I'm Indian.
I had. Yeah, that's the accent. It's so beautiful, Swasi. I love India.
No way, my accent is terrible. Do you eat like pickles? Do you eat Indian food?
I do. I'm perhaps a little more into to the Mexican style of spicing things, but I do love Indian food too. Have had I think I had a year or two of dal eating, but it kind of pertains to like I think living in the foothills of the Himalayas 5,000 years ago. There's been like a
Oh
lifetime
my
that showed
God.
up there,
Oh,
walking that
okay.
landscape.
But Mads, if you were invited to come and live in our home for as long as you wish in Amman, New Jersey. So if you were ever traveling here, I know you travel all over the world, but you are invited to stay here for as long as you wish.
Thank you
You'll
so
have to
much.
cook with me though. I'm not gonna cook alone.
I
I tell
actually
the same to my boyfriend. He has to cook with me.
I actually like cooking. Do you like cooking, Mike?
I just learned how to make paneer makhni with Swazi the other week.
So we are all going to be cooking Indian food, and then you're invited free to like live here in New Jersey whenever you're visiting United States. This offer stays till I'm like alive on this earth. So anytime you make any plans, I'm going to send you my address, and the invitation is open. You'll have your room to yourself and Indian food.
You get to see the too, the driveway.
Oh, what's that, Mike?
You get to see her driveway. That's with the healing hand and the angel.
Oh, you can walk on water. That was the stuff. That's
You remember the question?
spectacular.
So Mads, can you hear all our questions when you're channeling?
Yes, like I am semi-conscious. It's a little weird to explain. It's almost like it's most similar to a dream state somehow.
Okay.
So kind of, when you're dreaming and there's a point of view that kind of knows you're dreaming at the same time. And it's kind of that where I hear it. So I am a conscious channeler, but then when I come out of it, I can't really recall anything but like bits and pieces.
But
But
you're amazingly clean channeler, like just so synchronicity, and your energy is so beautiful. Like, why was Jesus smiling the entire time, please? Was it you or was it Jesus smiling and laughing?
I,
Because you do the same thing.
yeah, but I think
Yeah.
it is kind of the vibe, right? It's kind of that high vibe of joy that kind of connects to him. So what I think of it is that it's what happened to me was kind of that I learned to, you know, the top of my vibration connects to the bottom of their vibration with the aliens and stuff, for instance.
Okay.
That if I can go so high, they can kind of lower and then meet us there. And then that's just an incredibly joyful, bright, loving, happy vibration.
And
So
then did you have to like abstain from like bad thoughts, bad food and all that to go into channeling? Because I remember you were smoking before, right? And you smoke all kind of stuff.
it's yes, you are kind of right. And the interesting thing is I can tell that I learned to do it even though like periods where I've had relapses with cigarettes and stuff, but it's harder for me to do
Oh,
if I'm, for instance, eating a lot of junk or something, it's harder for me to get into that space. And I can also tell that it's like if I had a phase here last week where I ate like a lot of bad candy, and then I would probably be like I could really feel how bad my body felt with that after coming out of the channeling. Then
But it's
oh. And
probably he's the pure vessel to accept the channel, right?
exactly, because it's like what the thing that's channeling is kind of a bright my energy body, and then my kind of my verbal center links to that, but my body can't quite keep up with that high vibration. So that's also why it kind of stimulates me in a positive way, and then I get a little tired afterwards, and why it doesn't want me to
so you're
get.
gonna go to sleep after this 2-hour session almost.
Yeah, I
Rest.
think, you know, I'll also probably go cook some food and then wind down, and then I'll sleep well to tonight. And of course, food is always a, you know, just a good way of centering and taking care of yourself.
Right. But it was
Absolutely.
a beautiful, beautiful session, and we are gonna do it again, right? We are gonna
Yep.
do it again, Mark. And
And
Yep.
no, no pressure, but you are of course welcome anytime. And I absolutely loved it. It was so good connecting to you. And
but Mads, I wanted to just know one more thing. Like, what guided you to do this whole hanky-panky crazy stuff? To channel stuff.
yeah, that's a very good question. Like you asked, like who's actually guiding us to
Who's
do
pushing?
this? Because
Yeah.
I sensed that it was probably somehow meant to happen, but it was a discovery. Like I got into, you know, yoga, and first I got into psychedelics and stuff, and then I got really into yoga, and then I had like began to have like really strange Kundalini experiences, and then
What was strange about it? Like, did you feel anything at the back of your neck, like back of
oh,
your head?
oh yes, like I had like a period of several months where I felt like rainbow currents flowing up and down my spine, and I couldn't sleep, and I had like spontaneous regressions, and very strange stuff.
And were they sexually charged up? Like you felt like coming from the bottom up?
Yes, it can happen in different ways for people, but that was kind of how I felt it.
It was going, but
Create together.
Uh,
I go.
could you say that again, Mike? Sorry, it's just a
Does
connection.
it like start at like one chakra and go up and down and back and down? Like, is that the flow of it?
Yes, exactly. Because then what happens for me, for instance, is that usually a lot of your chakras will be blocked. And so that's why, you know, normally you do it in a monastic setting where people are like cleared out for years and years before they have these experiences. So what
and
happened is then it just begins to push up against all the spaces that are clogged and polluted and filled with like emotion, unwanted emotion and stuff. And so that's just why it's been, I think this happened to me 5 6 years ago. And so it's an ongoing process of things kind of being pushed up and out. And then I think like 2 years into that awakening process, 3 years perhaps, this kind of happened, that I began feeling very blissful. and then I began meditating and discovered channeling. Somehow it came into my life, and then I just began being contacted and found
So
out.
you went through purification before this, right?
Yes, so I had like several years where my life kind of fell apart. It was a little crazy, but I was living out in a house in the woods, so that was a very good space to do it in. But where then I couldn't tend to my job because of these consequences. I was teaching high school, and then strange things started happening, and my friends started disappearing, and it was like people described like just your entire life coming down into. I reached a point where I just surrendered. And then I woke up the next day and felt like, oh, okay, completely changed somehow. So what you are describing also, with rehab experiences are often like drug use is often a facilitator for coming into, wanting your own vibration, because it's essentially a way we mistreat ourselves, right? So it's just, that's often so beautiful to have those experiences where you break apart and then are like forced to put yourself together in a
Well,
true way.
you have like this process, like because you get like back in order. You get your body first, then you get your spirit back, then you get your mind back. So it takes a long time, but like you still feel your old body, but the new being is emerging into it. So that the change is a transformation, and it takes, a good year or two before you start to feel all those changes at once.
Exactly. That's completely that, and I sense that you might be going through, like also sensing your energy body, that there might actually be a lot of physical symptoms connected to the changes. So the more you can, drink water, exactly, eat healthy, do
Yeah.
those self-care activities, the better, because it will align itself naturally.
And Mark, does your third eye open? Oh, sorry. Like Matt's, is your third eye open?
Yes, that's essentially what I'm experiencing, but I am, as you guys are, it's very interesting. I'm connected to quite a few people who are having these experiences. This solar disk is kind of, I sense there's a solar disk expanding in my head that's connected to a widening of the skull. So lately I've also been having a lot of intracranial pressure.
That it's expanding or something. I mean, I'm not as high level, but at least it's starting and my brain feels different. And what about synchronicities? Like, do you feel those synchronicities, like things appearing or people we meet are meant to meet, or numbers and things, patterns? Do you
Yes,
feel
my
that?
life is completely crazy in that way. Like I'm constantly reminded that everything is ordered in the weirdest patterns, and I have a lot of precognition also, where it's, I'll start thinking about people, maybe people I haven't heard from in a year or something, and then they'll contact me 30 minutes later or something.
And what
Um,
about like your past and like, do you go into your future sometimes, zone out of where you are and go into connect to many selves or multiple people that is you?
And your high self, or
it's a very good it's a very good perspective, because what I often sense is that it's slightly obscured from us, but it comes as, visions. So it's essentially what all the three of you are experiencing, that these um interests, just things that you feel called to all of a sudden going more into, or exploring, or like the dance in your life, Mark, is something that's just showing you the way somehow, that this is how light wants to come into your life. I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's a much broader perspective for sure.
But
That
yeah, but I think that the thing is, it's what they often explain is that it's because you don't want to read the ending of the novel, so it's so your future needs to be concealed for yourself, so it keeps being an adventure, right? The worst thing you can do is to spoil the movie by knowing how it ends.
I
yeah,
just don't
sure.
understand though, Mads. How can you connect to like so many entities? Isn't like your brain just zapped? It's like connecting to other people, channeling. Like you have a lot going on in your brain.
like
It's
as a computer, your cookies must clear out every day, probably, right?
That's a very, very good. That's a very good point, Mike. I love that image because I think if I don't clear my cookies, it does build up. And clearing my cookies is like making sure that I meditate twice a day, for instance. And when I get away from that, I do get like too frazzled and stuff. But honestly, I don't know why I'm able to do what I'm able to do. It just seems very intuitive. So I'm just so grateful that it's something that seems to be helping people.
Well, we are definitely doing it again, Mads, and we are super, super thankful that we connected with Jesus and Krishna through you. I didn't want to connect through anybody else because you have this peaceful, loving energy. And moreover, Mads, you connect to these beings also like a very approachable, like I don't want to say, oh, Jesus, I want to worship you till the end of my life. It's very home. It's like a very warm home experience, like how you connect. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
I felt the godlike presence at least twice in my questions. I felt this light coming. I don't know if you did channeling, but I did.
That is so wonderful to hear, Mike, because it's I'm very concentrated in the present. So when I get the affirmation that people are being touched by the energy, that's exactly how it's supposed to be, and
Like,
that's of course you guys opening up to it. So
when you connected to my uncle, when I asked about my uncle, I almost felt like tears welling up almost. That's how like intense it got.
and I really sensed him very strongly as a very bright presence, and I haven't quite experienced that before with passed over loved ones. So it was quite special to see how he had taken upon that self to really gently guide where you are, and that's just a sign that you are totally on your path. And I got that from all three of you, that you are totally on your
Connected to
path.
Swazi too. Connected to Swazi too. My uncle.
Yeah.
Oh, he
But
did?
Mads, we will definitely have another session. We don't know when, maybe in a month or 2 months.
Whenever you
But
guys.
this one was extremely memorable, very
Yes.
memorable. And Mike's first channeling session ever in his life.
Yeah.
He has no clue what the heck this is going to be like.
So beautiful. And then I'll send, I'll just send the recording to you so you'll have that, because it's often also weird time releases, and you are of course welcome any time.
That would be awesome. All
And Matt,
right.
a
Thank you,
question.
Mads. And you're welcome to visit us anytime when you are in United
I
States.
am doing a US tour at some point, so I will take you up on that, and I'm very
Yes, yes, yes. I'm in New Jersey and I'm close to two important places, the New York and Pennsylvania. And I know you would like to travel a lot.
Oh yes, but Jersey, that's Atlantic City and the Sopranos and everything. I hear that.
Oh my God, you already know it. Yes. So like you're staying in our home at that point of time.
I'm much looking forward.
And
All
that's
right. Bye. Thank you, Mads.
Bye
Bye.
bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.